Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's 5:37. So we'll go ahead and get started. We'll listen to some folks, but I don't think we're voting on anything this evening. So we'll call the West Ashland Revitalization Commission meeting for November the 9th, 2022. And as always, we will turn on our wonderful Eric Pullman to give us a first update on the West Ashland City Park construction.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Chairman Shade. So on the West Ashley Parks construction update, these are just some questions and answers I got from the City Parks Director, Jason Kronsberg, regarding a few of the parks in the area. I don't have any slides or anything to show you on this one. It's just a verbal update. One of the questions was regarding WPAL. WPAL is the park that's located on Wapu Road just before you enter Edgewater. Just prior to the COVID shutdown, we had had a public meeting in, I think, November of 2019. And we were getting started on the process of getting a construction team on board to begin doing the development work on that park at that location. The COVID shutdown and reshuffling of the budget kind of threw that out of whack for a while. We are getting it back on track. The contract is currently being reviewed by an outside legal counsel, and we are aiming for the contract to actually be on the council agenda on the 23rd. So there's that's good progress on that one. There will be additional community engagement with the selected engineering team for this location. We did just one round of preliminary outreach, but we'll be doing another one with the development team themselves. That's the WPAL update. Look for.
By the way, for members of the commission, that land was donated to the city. That correct? So that was from Mr. Grant, from the commission. But I thought he gave us a also that land. Maybe not. Okay.
It's we purchased it. I couldn't tell you for how much, but we did purchase it.
Thanks.
The other update that was requested was regarding the Greenway wayfinding and branding package. For that one, the design team is preparing some construction plans for the wayfinding signage. A logo has been selected by the internal and external commission or committee. So I sit on that myself, along with Devin Andrews, who represents the Charleston Parks Conservancy, who's in the audience here today. Also, Donna Jacobs and Katie Zimmerman sit on that as well. When we actually have some mock-ups to bring to you guys regarding the wayfinding itself, we'll bring that up and have more information regarding that then. Carr Richardson Park, there was some curiosity as to status of the Carr Richardson Park. That is the one that's in Maryville along the Ashley River. Or is that Maryville or Ashleyville? Ashleyville side. Sorry, I always get those confused back and forth. It's on the Ashleyville side of Maryville, Ashleyville on the Ashley River. Absolutely beautiful piece of land at the end of Bender Street, going to provide some great access to the water. The city has a punch list to be delivered to the contractors next week. They have 30 days to rectify any issues that come up from that. And then after that, we are hoping to have the park open by the end of the year, at least in terms of the built facility at that location, which is going to be a rentable community house, along with a pier to access out onto the water. We have not yet figured out any facility rental fees, but there will be a required deposit in the future on the to use the property, as well as a cleaning fee. We have also not coordinated any grand opening ceremony yet. We want to make sure we get through the punch list first, and there's no other surprises after that. And then we are also awaiting the proposal from the history workshop so that way we can develop some interpretive signage and monuments that will go out on site, detailing some of the history of the property and the history of Maryville, Ashleyville itself.
Eric.
Yes, sir.
Also, there was a resident, Maryville and went on, Dr.
Dr. Ernest Edward Just.
Ernest.
Edward Just.
Yes. We founded. What is
Yes, Omega Psi Phi
Omega Psi Phi.
fraternity in 1911.
So some of the markers are, want to recognize him. Give me some, elaborate on
Some of the individuals we want to recognize would be Mary Matthews Just, his mother, who was instrumental in forming the town, and helping to promote the town. She was one of the trustees for the Deming School, one of three persons. They bought the land for $55 in 1892. And the Deming was erected, being the oldest school in the West Ashley area at that time. Some of the mayors will also be recognized, such as Thomas Tobias Carr, who was the last mayor, who was elected in 1933. You know, he also served in 1934 and was the last mayor in 1936. So those are some of the types of individuals we want to recognize. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, guys.
All right, and thank you for all that background as well, Ms. Hamilton. The last one is the Ashley River crossing. So we are working through the process with the shortlisted team, reviewing questions in order for them to continue with the design so that they can develop their plans for bidding as part of a design build project. We anticipate the aesthetic character of the bridge will change as they continue to design. That will be part of a very complicated scoring process guided by the Federal Highway Administration as well as SCDOT. The original concept was always subject to change as it was based on 30% drawings. Bids are due mid-first quarter 2023, and we're hopeful to bring the construction contract to council spring of 2023 with a goal of project completion summer of 26. So this being a federal project, there is a lot of back and forth with the Federal Highway Administration, doing box checks and making sure their process is being followed very acutely. That is that's the city park update on that part for those questions. And then it was requested that Matt Mullenhour, who sits on our commission, do a very quick update regarding the Old Town Creek County Park. So give me 1 second here to.
Thank you. My name is Matt Moldenhauer. In my professional job, I'm a landscape architect and planner for Charleston County Parks. But I'm presenting on one of my projects, which is Old Town Creek County Park. For those of you that don't know, this property is immediately south of Charlestown Landing on Old Town Road, directly across the street from Lenavar neighborhood. The property is roughly 67 acres. It's protected in large part by a conservation easement. Not all of it is protected by a conservation easement. And so we've had many public meetings over the years, including I think 2 meetings to this body, 2 presentations to this body. And so I'm going to keep this very brief. Good news is that we've undergone a comprehensive conceptual master planning process for the site. We've engineered all the improvements, we've permitted all the improvements, and we have budgeted to build the improvements. And officially, as of a week or 2 ago, we put it out to bid on the street for construction. So that's a major milestone in the development of the project, as I'm sure you can imagine. What do we anticipate the site will include? At this point, phase 1, this may end up being a multi-phase project, but we anticipate at a minimum, there will be parking improvements, there will be a new vehicular entrance, there will be restrooms, a place to check in, maybe buy some concessions. There will be a open air pavilion on the property. There will be large fields. I obviously can't point to the map or the plan right now, but you can see some large fields. The darker green shades represent the wooded areas. We hope the budget will support the playground. We hope it will support an elevated overlook that would overlook Old Town Creek, looking toward Charlestown Landing. The property currently has a dock on it. You have a point? That's
How much pointing?
so, well, that's not going. Didn't work on the screen. Anyway, it's about a 1 mile trail. It'll be completely ADA accessible. And they will have a dedicated pedestrian entrance. So if you're at all familiar with the site, you drive by, you see brick gates, that will become the dedicated pedestrian entrance. Our project will also include construction of a 10-foot wide multi-use path along the front of the park in an effort to expand bike and pedestrian connectivity on the corridor. And then Charleston County is working on a project just to the north that would connect over to the Charlestown Estates neighborhood to connect that path. So a lot of good things happening on Old Town Road and also Old Town Creek County Park in the coming years. We expect this to be a 2-year construction period, starting in January or February of next year. Obviously, we hope it's faster than that. But I would say if you're used to going to wind down Wednesdays at the property, which is really the only way the public gets on the property right now, is that limited programming, that will be closed. There will be no wind down Wednesdays for the next 2 years. But we look forward to bringing that back. Thank you. Any questions? I should mention that Diane and Charlie here, and Donna, I don't think Donna's in the room, but Diane and Charlie were on the steering committee for the interpretive master planning of the site. So Diane talked about Maryville. At this site, we hope to talk about Maryville, but more comprehensively talk about West Ashley, as a matter of fact. And so we want to talk about the development of the West Ashley landscape, not covering what Charlestown Landing is covering. We want to pick up where they leave off in terms of history and chronology. But anyway, it should be an exciting story to tell here at Old Town Creek County Park. Thank you.
Any questions or comments? So for the commissioners' oversight with the state, with the public at large, based on what the class has told us, did you travel from Charlestown Landing, you have the Old Town Creek Park, and Carl Richardson, and then the Higgins Pier? So within a very short span, you've got access to water and the historical Charlestown Landing, History Park, and then Carl Richardson. So it's a wonderful linear opportunity, I guess, the way of saying it. So what's available to the public to take full advantage of it. If you haven't traveled down to Bender Street, but the Carl Richardson site, I'd really encourage you. It's quite a view that overlooks Charlestown Landing as well. So thanks. Thank you all for that.
All right. So the next item on the agenda would be the Charleston County Transportation Project update. We got Herbert Mims here from the county. He is going to take over as soon as I do a screen share for YouTube.
Thank you, Eric. I'm Herbert Mims. I'm the engineering manager at Charleston County Public Works, also construction project manager. I'm here to give you an update on all of our West Ashley projects. Some are completed and some are in progress, but I actually am the project manager for Glen Connell Parkway widening. Probably noticed some construction barrels out there. Just a brief overview. The extents are from Eastbury to just short of Magwood Drive, approximately a little over two miles of roadway drainage and multimodal improvements. To highlight some of those improvements, we have roadway widening from 4 to 6 lanes, installation of a bike and pedestrian facility by way of a 10-foot multi-use path on the eastern corridor of the project.
Give me 1 second, sorry.
Go ahead.
Keep going.
So
minor drainage modifications. The multimodal improvements include 7 sheltered bus stops with bus turnouts. 4 on one westbound side and 3 on the eastbound side. Intersection improvements and modifications throughout the corridor. 4 mast arm traffic signals at Bees Ferry, Marietta, West Wildcat, Garrett's Cove and Waterstone, and Essex Farms. And of course, we need to install roadway lighting. I think that's an important part of this process. Landscaping and irrigation systems at all intersections, and then finally, new asphalt pavement for the length of the project. As part of a phased approach, we broke it out into 3 phases. We're currently in phase 1, which included clearing of the project limits, which started in March. Westbound shoulder work from Bees Ferry Road to Magwood Drive, which includes the installation of additional travel lane, and then minor storm drainage modifications. And here are some pictures. This is site clearing. Here's some of our storm drainage work in progress. Erosion control. And this is our portion of the roadway widening on the westbound lanes. We were actually able to value engineer and change means and methods of construction. We did a cement modified recycle base on the outside westbound lane, saving $300,000. This is that process being installed. That is a truck that is dropping dry Portland cement. All right, phase 2, which is likely to occur beginning of next year. Median eastbound shoulder work from Bees Ferry Road to Magwood Drive. That includes the additional travel lane on the inside eastbound lanes, intersection improvements as we go, and more minor drainage modifications. Phase 3 would be our final phase, and that includes Lake Daughter culvert installation, which is a city-sponsored project under our current contract. That's contingent on environmental permitting, but we have worked with the city on providing them expedited review privileges that we have with the Army Corps of Engineers. Also, our shared use path would go in and finish up our multimodal improvements with bus shelters, finish off with landscaping and irrigations at the intersections, our mainline paving and striping, and then finally our new mast arm traffic signals. So our current status, as of about 2 weeks ago, we were 30% complete based on time. Materials installed is just shy of 30%. Our upcoming construction activities are the new westbound travel lane paving. That actually started on Sunday night. Drainage modifications, we'll continue to work through those. Our projected timeline, phase 2, as I said, January 2023, that will start. Phase 3, multi-use path in Lake Daughter is scheduled to begin summer of 2023. This is a 24-month project, so substantial completion is scheduled for March 2024.
And let me get Councilman Woody coming up.
Yeah, so thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to just mention her, thank you for the update, but I also want to lift up the Lake Daughter issue. You know, this was a great collaboration between the city and the county. Because I guess this affects Councilman Waring's district as well as Councilman Sheila's district, particularly in
Radio.
yeah, okay, I'm sorry. But anyway, there's going to be a pipe underneath there to help with drainage over there. However, the city has to get downstream permitting done. I'm fumbling with it a little bit, but how silly would we have looked if we had completed the road and not put that pipe underneath? So basically what will happen is the pipe goes underneath, but it will be capped. 4 pipes. 4 pipes, yes. 4 pipes will go underneath the road during construction. They will be capped until the water downstream work is done. And then when that's done, you just open them up. But the alternative was to build the road, come back 3 years later, rip the road up and put the pipes in and do it all. So we got together and got that figured out. That was good collaboration.
Sometimes we can figure this stuff out.
Yeah, we get out of our own way.
But
Any other questions on Glover?
to the point that this is the perfect example of the county and city working together. And I got to give Councilman Shealy a lot of credit for bringing it to our attention, came before council, and we all got behind that. So, Woody, as well. Out of curiosity, just point over there. What is the traffic now?
As a, that number, I don't know off the top of my head, I'd have to get back.
I didn't mean to for you, but I'm just wondering, it's just, if I go out that area, just,
Right.
you know, my son lives in this neighborhood across the street, that, I can imagine after this is completed, that traffic count is gonna go up even more, I suspect.
Yeah, for normally design work, goes out 20 years. So that traffic data in planning is incorporated into the design. So yes, traffic will keep increasing, but this road is designed to handle that.
Thanks.
Any other questions on Glen McConnell? This is one of our recently completed projects, Ashley Hall Plantation Road, right turn lane. Installation of a right turn lane from Ashley Hall Plantation onto 61, accommodate better turning radius. They replace sidewalk, curb and gutter, pretty run of the mill intersection improvement there. Obviously, there's pedestrian crossing with a pedestrian signal. Adele Street paving, Glen McConnell will ignore that. Adele Street paving is an interesting project. It was and if you could even call it an earth road, it was overgrown. It was actually right of way, but it was a reduced amount of right of way, not our standard road right of way length or width. And as part of this project, we worked with Charleston Water. I had them do some sewer improvements and water improvements as we went along. But we installed pervious pavement, did some analysis of the soils out there, and the soils showed good infiltration rates. So we were able to put in pervious pavement due to the lack of right of way and lack of drainage out there. That was substantially complete this, I want to say October or November, earlier a couple days ago. But it's a pretty cool project.
That's a pretty cool project. This was a road that was on the map for 40, 50 years. People living in the city of Charleston on the dirt road. This is right behind, you know where the Crab Shack is? It's as you go across the street, and then there's a Domino's Pizza on the corner of Savage and 61. Right behind it, that road was there when we were in elementary school. And that's okay. The lady who lived there, one lady that lived there that's in her 90s, that I can't tell you how overjoyed she was. Have a paved road and her water meter in front of her house. Their water meter used to be out on Highway 61. So we're so proud of it. We're gonna have horse and buggy tours. You can look at some.
Never heard of the street. I will go up there.
Savannah Highway capacity and intersection improvements. I was the project manager on this recently. I handed it off to someone else. But the project goal was to reduce congestion and improve safety along Savannah Highway. The study was Savage Road to Avondale Road. We actually recently just had a virtual public information meeting. Maybe some of you have commented on that. It was open to the public for about a month and a half. And we received a little over 350 comments. Those comments are currently being reviewed and we're generating responses, formalize a comment response summary, which we'll put out to the public here in the near future. But this is a project, another City of Charleston and Charleston County coordination effort that is going to have to continue going forward. The project is currently in final design. But we are evaluating all the feedback that we received during the public information meeting, and taking that with us, in cultivating a design that incorporates a lot of what the public's looking for. US 17 at Savage Road intersection. This is a small intersection improvement. There's a turning radius coming from US 17 on Savage Road that needed to be improved. You probably have seen the curb shoot up on Savage Road. But the scope was to improve the intersection of Savage Road at US 17 to accommodate truck turning movements and increase capacity of the right turn lane from Savage Road onto US 17. Dominion Energy is finalizing easement language to relocate some lines. We're waiting on that before we actually advertise for construction, but we assume that that will be done here in the near future, and we can advertise the project first quarter of 2023. Ashley Hall Road at Sam Rittenberg turn lane extensions. This essentially a turn lane extension on Ashley Hall Road, turning onto Sam Rittenberg. It increases the length of the turn lanes from southbound Ashley Hall to eastbound Sam Rittenberg Boulevard. The project will also include drainage improvements, curb and gutter, and moving an existing sidewalk onto an existing easement. Project is under review by the DOT and City of Charleston TRC process. It's also subject to a county encroachment permit for the drainage easement. I think we can probably grant that. And our path forward is receive all the permitting and advertise project in the first quarter of 2023.
Before you leave that project, Eric, this is also the intersection that we're working on of our plan was actually for the. No, we got to do the other project. Sorry, nothing but Walford. Yes, this is a different project. Sorry.
Beast Ferry and Sanders Road traffic light. As you know, there have been some material delays that we've encountered this whole year since 2020. But the construction is in progress. We're waiting on the delivery of the mast arm signal poles. We've been assured that they will arrive by December and hope to install those by the end of 2022. Old Town District improvements. Currently, we resubmitted 30% plans to the COG, the DOT, received comments back from both agencies, excuse me. We're revising those plans and beginning preliminary utility coordination. Our path forward is right-of-way plans and are expected in the next month for review. Project tentatively out for bid in fourth quarter of 2023. The Old Town Road sidewalk, widen existing, this I believe is what Matt was referring to. Widen existing sidewalk from 5 feet to 10 feet, make it a shared use path between the entrance to Charlestown Landing and approximately halfway between Charlestown Landing entrance and the new county park entrance. This is in the permitting phase of the DOT and City of Charleston, working with city and state park to obtain an easement for the sidewalk on the portion of the project that will be on park property. We had a meeting out on site around June 30th, I believe, where we met with folks that live on Ingram Road. They mentioned that they wanted to keep some of the crepe myrtle screening that's there. So that will be accommodated, and we'll only widen sections that don't have that screening. Path forward is to obtain permits and easement and complete final construction plans. Stalker, Chadwick, and Savannah Highway intersection improvements. This was part of the Savannah Highway corridor study. This is a realignment of an existing intersection. I'll probably know this one is skewed and kind of has a funky layout, but we'll improve that with pedestrian crossings, installation of sharrows, and enhance overall traffic and pedestrian safety. Currently, we do have a DOT encroachment permit. The final plans are under review by the city. Our path forward is to advertise for construction fourth quarter of this year, which we are in, upon the receipt of the city approval. Savage Road sidewalk has been broken out into two segments. Segment A is from Henry Tecklenburg to North Castlewood. Segment B is from South Castlewood to Etowah. We will, I believe, a separate TSG project has been funded to build the sidewalk from Etowah to US 17. So that's on the docket. Our status is Dominion is conveying right of way to the DOT. City of Charleston is reviewing our MS4 permit. The warrant study did not support a CARTA request for mid-block crossing connecting northbound and eastbound stops at Etowah. Our path forward, projected advertisement to bid in the first quarter of 2023. That's it. Any questions?
That's all? And then another curveball question for you. Not putting you on the spot, but if the total build up of all those projects, estimate cost.
Well, I know a couple off the top of my head. Glen McConnell is roughly $18 million. Lake Daughter, that's Glen McConnell and Lake Daughter together. Savannah Highway, I would put probably $10 to $15 million for those three intersections that we're improving. A lot of the project costs that we're seeing with our advertisements have been inflated 20% per line item. I don't know that that's sustainable going forward. We need more money. So I put all of these projects together probably in the 60 to $75 million range.
Very good. Thank you for that. Councilman Woody.
No, it's a big number, but it's, we've been reviewing it in county council, some of our smaller projects, annual fundings that we're not, there's always a lineup of bullpen of small projects waiting to happen. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, that we funded this year to finish projects from last year. So we're not undertaking any new projects for the next calendar year because of the escalation of prices. So our funding this year, again, will just complete what was started last year.
That's correct.
I do think.
Very good. Well, we do appreciate y'all coming out tonight, giving us an upgrade on that. I don't think it's widely known to how the relationship between the city and the county and other municipalities in the county when it comes to road improvement projects, but it's a collaboration effort. The county's the principal responsible party for doing these things, but working with us and making reports like this to the Revitalization Commission helps get the word out as to what we're doing, what these projects are trying to accomplish. Some of them have a lot of pushback, and putting on the veterans of the Old Town Road improvements that took years to get to the final point. And then we have to wait till the last quarter of 2020, but we hope that does not get pushed out anymore further. That's far enough after this. So
I do know that funding is there for that project, but we'll have to borrow from the intersection allocations for a couple of years, but it will be funded.
there's just a whole lot of moving parts with these road improvement projects that we see that as members of council, city council, county council. But the word that needs to go into this, the citizen input component, the permitting process, the acquisition of right of ways, getting SCDOT approval for a lot of these things. It's just, we just will come up with an idea and go, let's widen this road or let's add a curb cut. It takes a lot more than what we see goes on. So I say that for appreciate the work that we have in the county and the Georgia Department is doing. I appreciate you coming out and thank you. Share that information.
Could you go back to the lane extension of Ashland Road that as it approaches San Wittenberg? Yeah.
Give me 1 second to do this.
I just want you to, so it's gonna be it's gonna be the right lane that's extended once you get to the picture.
Yes, sir.
And then the one you spoke about previously, Ashland Road meets 61, both of those came from citizens, by the way. Those suggestions to make those improvements came from citizens. two elected officials say, hey, why don't you put a turn lane in or extend this money in, which eventually got pushed up to county council and, you know, now being presented and hopefully funded and being bid out next quarter. So more ideas come from the public than frankly people that have.
Any other commissioners? Yes, sir.
Just a question, and I was thought maybe,
Please put the microphones.
I was talking with a coworker today. Am I of the understanding that what we call suicide, murder is going to stay the way that it is?
Yes, ma'am.
And that is just mind blowing to me that with all the work that we're doing, that is going to have a change because
Let me speak to it and you jump in. The suicide murder, as it's called, is not the problem. Wrecks don't happen there. Wrecks happen after that. So somebody coming from Matt's Park, trying to take a left turn on Orange Grove Road, shooting across 3 lane of traffic, instead of going across Charlestown Lane and coming up that way. The suicide merge moves traffic, which is what it's built to do. And so it's not the problem. It's after the merge that's the problem. The resources just were not there to take that up, and further, SCDC would never have let us rip that up. So, Herb, I don't know if you're going to add to that.
No, I think the impacts to surrounding businesses was a big problem as well.
Can you go back to that screen? Show that
Which one?
the
Double town?
hotel. So one of the other problems that we were facing, addressing this issue, is if you go further back down to the very end, the bottom left-hand side, that's Donahue and Charlestown Estates Road, which was also a huge contributor of traffic accidents, because the road is not teed up, it's a square, it's a slightly off alignment. And so cars either coming out of Charlestown Estates 2 and 3 or 1 and 2, I think it was confusing time to time, are not seeing one another. And so part of that shown on there is a realignment of that intersection to also address some of the accidents. But to Councilmember Wood's point, it's the accidents will happen exactly at the merge. It happens at a distance away from the merge. It's just the flow of traffic that creates the accidents happening. It seems a little bit confusing, but you don't see the collisions actually at the merge. I think we're going to show this in a second for this. But the way that merge is configured, the accidents happen further down, closer towards Orange Grove roadside.
So, Herbert, I was just curious, do you have a rough number for how many comments were submitted for the Savannah highway capacity?
Yeah, a little over 350.
So that's a good number. And one thing to keep aware of is the county does respond to every comment directly that they receive. So that's going to be quite a bit of staff time on them to read through and respond back to all these citizen input.
Any other questions?
Well, good. Thank you so much for coming out, and appreciate the work the county does. So,
Thank you.
All right, so next agenda items are going to be the work group progress update. So this is going to be mostly the me show for a little bit here. But I would welcome Jen at one point or another to jump in. So the economic development work group met with comprising of Jim Garrett and Amy Sutton, along with myself and Meg Thompson. We met Meg Thompson being the Director of Business and Neighborhood Services for the City of Charleston. We met with Charleston County Economic Development Team comprising of Steve Dykes and Jennifer Brown and Ashley, whose name I'm forgetting her last name right now. But anyway, we met with them on October 28th. We discussed some of the positives that Charleston County has been experiencing for economic development. CCED spent about half their time this year recruiting new people coming in, but they also spent half their time helping existing businesses expand what their operations are here. So that's a pretty good balance in there. Also, they want to relay that the county currently has an unemployment rate of about 3%, which is pretty good. We discussed efforts to provide county economic development help for the West Ashley area. It was agreed that one of the best things that we can do from the county standpoint is to actually be looking at a way to emphasize the advantages West Ashley has for existing businesses in the area, as opposed to trying to go after recruiting new businesses to come in. So we're going to be working with their team on making sure that existing businesses are aware of the advantages of coming into West Ashley. Some of those strengths being the close proximity to amenities as well as to homes, which will help displace some of that commute time. So we're going to be moving some of that more forward for talking points. Also just the amount of restaurants and other basic services that are available in the area. Some of that we're already starting with our West Ashley marketing book that you all received a copy of last time. Jim was gracious enough that he set me up. He was actually the first person I got to go to his office and talk with his team about the West Ashley book and the benefits of looking at us for expansion of business in terms of going out to the commercial real estate segment. It was also agreed that we should shift focus from trying to lure in any large floor plate office users. So when I say large floor plate, think of the buildings that you see off I-526 or I-26 in North Charleston. Instead of going after those large ones with a speculative office, instead we should be trying to talk with commercial developers about providing spaces for the 1,200, 1,500 square foot office users. We see a lot of our corridors, such as St. Andrews and Savannah Highway, are extremely popular with offices coming into former homes that are in that square foot range. So if we can start getting some density of that footprint of offices coming in along the corridor, as well as new construction, it's going to be a unique item for West Ashley. Some other areas to promote and marketing is the environment for families in West Ashley, such as the schools and parks. That's a big selling point for our area. In addition to that, they suggested that the city could pursue or attract additional family-focused venues, such as ice skating rinks, roller skating rinks, indoor amusement areas, and also amplifying the ones that we do currently have here, like outside, and which is just across the hall from us, and some of the other ones that are in our area. Also, another one is to promote and work with trying to find some more family-friendly outdoor brewery spots, very much like the Charlestown Winery Garden. Pardon?
Like that idea.
Yes. That idea is very nice. And then towards the end of the meeting, something that Mr. Garrett proposed is that in 2023, us as a commission, we actually start hosting some open roundtables with the business community to gather input both from people who are in the area and would like to say what's working for them, what do they need help with, but then also a way to kind of bring in some more of these commercial developers. So Jim, if you could expand a bit more on that idea.
I just think it's a great idea to,
Ask the community, the voice of the customer, what they want. We've got folks here, and they can also be the best salespeople for West Ashley to attract other businesses. So let's listen to see what they have to say.
All right, so that will be one of our meetings next year. Was going to be an open roundtable with business community to come in and talk about what's working and how can we help them. Some point in January, I guess our economic group, maybe we'll pull a few other volunteers in to help us start coordinating that.
So, Jim, I think it's a wonderful idea. And would you be able to identify some businesses that you think need to be inclusive with this, or what does the city need to do to help?
Yeah, I think what we want a cross section between retail, hospitality, professional services, doctors, attorneys, CPAs, et cetera. Let's figure out how to market to a cross section of that and invite them to come and participate.
I'm sure that I'll have to look, we may have a database with some of those folks already that we could reach out to. I can share with you that you would do that, but I'll have to check with our marketing team. All right, thank you.
Good, excellent. Thanks.
And then both Meg and myself are also looking at doing some other economic outreach events in the West Ashley area next year. So we could potentially have two styles of that. And then the next one is the design review guidelines update. So this one, the work group for this is Charlie Smith, Kenneth Meralda, Teresa Tydstrom, Matt Mullenhauer. We met twice since our last West Ashley revitalization meeting. At that, the first time around, we looked at the map that was provided with it regarding the gateways and community hubs area and talked about should we be changing some of those. We actually ended up pulling a few in and changing out some locations. So when I get that map updated, I can send that back out to you guys. At the last meeting, we discussed aspects about getting better design along the public right of way, specifically how the area between the building and the right of way can start to merge together and become more active and talk more to each other, which led to another discussion about how to better utilize areas like the St. Andrews corridor, which has on-street parking, bike lane, and a sidewalk. That one, though, is outside the scope of what DRB can handle. DRB only looks at what's on city annexed property from the right-of-way line into the property. So I want to give Mr. Smith this opportunity because that was one of his concerns that he brought up. I want to give him this opportunity to kind of raise his concerns here.
Thank you, Eric. Pine West Ashley, as well as the state Department of Transportation, both incorporate complete streets standards for roadways, and this is something that we certainly want to encourage here. But we also are aware that particularly along St. Andrews Boulevard, there's some questionable parallel parking along the road there that we don't believe is supposed to be allowed, but it seems to be allowed in certain segments of St. Andrews Boulevard. And this is going to be problematic when we have more bike and pedestrian traffic, particularly where bikes and bike lane are coming down St. Andrews Boulevard, and you have automobiles parallel parking between those bike lanes and the sidewalks. When the doors are open, they are open into the bike lane. So this has been a topic of conversation with folks like Katie Zimmerman and several of us in the community have been concerned about how we make sure that if the parking is not supposed to be allowed on St. Andrews Boulevard, that we're consistent with it, and that we make sure that that we are promoting those complete street standards and making sure that when we say we don't have jurisdiction over something, that's a state jurisdiction, that we make sure that they are following the complete streets recommendations for design, so that we're consistent between the state and the city on the design work there. So oftentimes as individuals, we'll make comments at meetings and we're told, well, we can't address anything inside the state right away at the DRB, for instance, but I think it may be appropriate for the WARC to be able to make sure that that coordination is happening when we have major projects, and to see through it all the way through the processes at the city, and when we're coordinating with the state to make sure that they are coordinated through the complete streets guidelines. Thank you.
That's the question. Yes.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Charlie, on that, has there been any thought, because I thought about that on St. Andrews Boulevard as well, that the bike lane could get shifted over and the cars serve as the protected barrier for the bikes. So now I've been in like other cities like Baltimore that run that similar model where the bike lane gets moved away from the traffic traveling it 35, 40 miles an hour, and then the parked cars serve as the barrier, with the bike lane being kind of more adjacent towards the sidewalk.
As long as we end up with a safe solution for everybody, that'll work. But I'm not sure exactly how that's to be coordinated, but it needs to be the focus, because with the new bridge and with the parks that we have, that you have to, people are gonna be traveling from the new bridge by bike down to Charlestown Landing and Old Town Creek Park and to Carl Richardson and maybe as far as North Bridge. And, we need to make sure that it's safe for every mode of transportation. And, I think there are probably multiple ways of doing that, but, I think that the important thing is to ensure it.
So that's something we can definitely take up at traffic and transportation and begin exploring some options if the design review working group wants to provide some recommendations. It's something that, since I chair traffic and transportation, would be happy to explore.
We appreciate that, and of course are willing to help with that in any way we can.
Well, sounds like we'll talk about it a bit more at the design one, and then we'll get you some recommendations and comments, Councilman. So that is going to wrap up the work group progress for right now. Any other comments or questions before we go into the public comment period?
Do we or will we have, I guess, any update on drainage projects that's taking place West Ashley? There's a number of them taking place West Ashley that I think people should know about. I mean,
We can.
I think we should. I mean, for example, you go down Playground Road right now, you see some markings on the road. That's an $11 million drainage project that's getting ready to kick off. We just approved, like, what's it, a little more than $6 million one over in South Windermere. So not only as West actually gets revitalized in commercial corridors, this is pretty good work going on underground to alleviate flooding in West Ashley. I think, citizens should know, not just the citizen on the street, but everyone.
That was my good said on the expression for you, and I, this is our last meeting for 2022. So we've been kicking around some ideas of what to put on the agenda for 2023. We got the economic development component to do, the stormwater, and we wanted to do an update on the Sumar Street site. So we're looking at January, and not to overload this commission, but if we did the Sumar Street site update, that would be a full council meeting. And what we had in mind was to find a indoor location to do a very virtual and hands-on presentation to give you an update on what is going on with that. And then Lily golf cart us to the site itself to do, because sometimes I just want to go to the scene of the crime, so to speak. And you're walking the area and you see the visual component of that. It may help us understand what needs to be done with this, what improvements we need to be tweaking with that. There's a lot of issues and moving parts with the Sumar Street. And I just want to make sure that we're up to date with the commission and the public on all of that. So if we do, this is a good kickoff for January with economic development, stormwater update, and update on Sumar Street. And I was wondering if there's any other areas of concern, because we will have a little bit of opportunity now to address that and get prepared for 2020. Now we would do everything in January, which is fine. But we can spread some of these projects out, these updates up, or other concerns. I mean, what we heard from Herbert today was just real interesting information as to what is going on, and we undermine ourselves a little bit by not voting these type of projects and additional projects that we got on the books and are working on. So it's just sort of important for the public to hear what we're doing, for the commission to hear what we're doing. But as Councilmember Waring pointed out, some of these projects are based upon the public coming forward with ideas on that. So these kind of informational updates also are an opportunity to generate other thoughts and other movements and other. So Commissioners, I'm looking at you first, other things that you want to look at for the 2023 agenda. You want to talk about that now, that's a good chance to do that. Just when we get your hand up and say, I was gonna give that.
You can also email me after the meeting about any agenda items.
Before we public comments, I was just gonna give a quick update on the, Church Creek Pigwood site. I spoke with Chairman Stefano. Everything, nothing ever moves as quickly as we'd like it to, but he assured me they're hopefully 6 to 9 months away from getting ready to turn some dirt out there. So I know the public will be pleased to see that. One interesting take that the county has a need for EMS unit out there. So we are probably going to pay to expand the footprint that the PSD has designed with their new fire station out there to accommodate the EMS unit and some office and rest area for the EMS personnel out there. So that's going to be a neat development out there as well. So that's update on the Church Creek dig.
Very good. All right, folks, if this is an opportunity to receive public comment feedback. Does anybody to my immediate right wishes to address anything?
Mr. Chairman, could I ask a quick question?
Yes.
Just, y'all may know more about this. Wrote an article in the last few weeks about the Magnolia project, moving forward. There's been some concern on our side of the river of what the light, noise, and marine impacts are going to be on our side of the river with multiple entertainment venues being placed on that property, and concerns about light pollution, and also some concerns about what's going to be stirred up with marina development usage into the river with marsh restoration and other issues that we've got on our side of the river. Just kind of want to know if is West actually at the table on these discussions with me.
I will tell you that my email and phone were blowing up not too long ago from Sandhurst residents with that exact question that brought up. And I had to explain to folks that's outside the city jurisdiction, we don't have control over that. But we can invite them. There was a shaky note about that. Yes.
So, the Magnolia project is within city limits. That is the one that is just across the, bridge near the skate park. That's the Magnolia planned unit development.
Okay. I was thinking about the one across the river, but
That's a Jenkins office.
that's a Jenkins office.
No, this is going to be right across from North Ridge and Maryville, West Palm.
We'll get an update. Okay.
It is a problem, Mr. Smith. It's a big problem because, I mean, Sandhurst down the grade on the Ashley, then gets going, it's a problem.
Well, I hear loud stroke.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, so back to my.
Well, let's say this. That's in a. Let me tell you, that's in a PUD, plan unit development, and the city will have a lot to say about that.
Good. I hope our side of the river will have a seat at the table.
Okay, all right. Now you can tell keeps me straight on when I get myself twisted on different projects going on. So I saw one hand there. Anybody else have a public comment they want to report? So what I should do, maybe Eric will come to you and we'll give you a couple of minutes. How's that? And you didn't, and we're taking this down, so we need to get your name.
Okay, my name is Ethane Smalls. I live at 711 Shelley Road in Charleston. I have a question about the drainage. I know we were working on a project on Playground Road. Do you have any idea when you're going to work on a drainage project that goes under Savannah Highway to help flooding in that area in East Oak Forest?
No, I you can share with the public works.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smalls. Matter of fact, she president of the East Oak Forest Neighborhood Association. Very valid area. One of the things that we recently struck success on. Anybody familiar with that area? That area drains under Savannah Highway through, there's an area between the church and, car wash, goes to the bikeway, which acts like a dam in between those neighborhoods and the outfall at the Stone River. Believe it or not, DHEC and OCRM is giving the city a lot of grief on cleaning out the outfall. So you have these big pipes underneath what I refer to as the dam, what we now know as the Greenway, that has silted in over the years. So when we have heavy rain events, even on low tide, as the water drains out your neighborhood, goes underneath Savannah Highway, gets into that marsh area between the church and the car wash, as Charlie said, it backs up, and it backs up all the way from the Greenway underneath Savannah Highway and down the outfall through your neighborhood. We had tremendous success very recently. Recently, last night, the council meeting, got the state, OCRM, DHEC, and actually, Councilman Bell. Yeah, I went out there in the march with some of those people and showed them what's happening. And they've given us permission to clean up one outfall, south of that. So that's the first time that we've been able to go into, we will be able to go into the marsh with heavy equipment, clean up the marsh on the outfall. And we have not gotten the right to do that on the outfall that affects your neighborhood, but we certainly have to request it. Prayerfully, dealing with DHEC and OCRM, it's like a separate form of government. You would think we would have an agreement like the hand and glove, but they don't. As a matter of fact, I went as far as saying, in particular, when we have hurricanes bearing down on us, go in there, clean it up, and send the bill to DHEC. Take us to court. Because when those pipes were put in, they were designed for the whole circumference, or diameter, I should say, to drain water out. Over time, sand goes into the drainage, washes out, gets into the pipe. Fluff mud gets into the pipe from the riverside. And it just makes sense they have to clean them up. They won't let us clean them up. So the issue has to be pushed. So we have gotten some success, thinking that we will be able to get success very soon there. And that's not going to be the only solution, cleaning up the pipe. The pipes need to be enlarged underneath Savannah Highway, leading all the way into your neighborhood. And that's a city responsibility. That's where we need to get more stormwater money. And Councilman Shahid and the rest of us, Councilman Brady, are working fervently to get the money to pay for an $11 or $12 million project.
Another comment. Listening to early about what we are doing for West Ashley to bring business in, to bring people in, which is good. I love West Ashley. I would like to stay in West Ashley, but I'm being run out because of this flooding issue, which this past September 30th, Hurricane Ian was the 7th time water got into my house. So the problem, we are doing all of this beautification, getting people into West Ashley, but then we running people out as well if we don't fix these problems. Now, why don't the city go in, clean it out, and send a bill to the state? Why don't you do that if you know it needs to be done?
When Peter is mayor, he's gonna do that. I don't, right, but I think it takes something bold like that. Because it's amazing how mid-level bureaucrats can tell a whole municipality no. And it shouldn't happen that way. But I do think it's gonna take, when they call this place the Low Country, it's not a nickname. It really is low. And we have different needs than some of the people in the upland. The water flows from Greenville to Columbia down to Chelsea.
And to your point, is that with Councilmember Waring and I in particular, Councilmember Brady, because we represent a lot of the older neighborhoods in West Ashley. So a lot of the older neighborhoods that were developed in West Ashley were initially in the county. Then as we annexed and incorporated into the city, we had different standards for development initially. And then over time, particularly in my neighborhood of Northbridge, you can see with the very visibly not having to go to the marsh. These ditches that were filled in just over time were filled in. That was because nobody paid any attention to them, nobody went out and cleaned them up. So we've had at least now in our stormwater department a huge push to clean and open up the open ditches that are in front of people's homes. My experience has been trying to address the ditches that run behind people's homes that when they back lots are joined to one another. Because we can't even find the surveys and the easements that grant us the right to do that, so you can trample on people's property rights. So we hear you, this is a huge problem. You would think that there was some very simple solutions to doing that, but we've been working diligently on it. And that's what we're is absolutely right. You just need to take some very bold steps, and sometimes it's easier to ask if you give us information. That whole thing, let's just do it. You know, and I think getting to that point where they're not going to cooperate with us and work with us. We have this issue, Councilman Wayne knows, I complain about sidewalks will get dumped on us for maintenance work. Because we can't get the state just passes that responsibility to us. But your point is not falling on deaf ears. It's an echo that we hear. You know, we're trying to get to that one neighborhood at a time. So, I'm not trying to take you patient. No, I'm not saying that. But, we hear you. We've got to get it fixed.
When it comes to stormwater fees, when you look at your water bill, all of us pay a stormwater fee. There's a block of people in the city of Charleston that's just not paying. And the city needs to do a better job at collecting money for stormwater fees, so we simply can have the money to pay for these fixes. And that's something that Councilman Brady and Councilman Shea and myself, and obviously the rest of our colleagues, including them on city council, we have to fix. And think about it, we've known that for a while. So it's unfair, for example, for you and you and you not to pay your stormwater, and the rest of us pay it, and then all of us ask for to get fixed. So and we have to correct it.
Did Donna have a comment?
Well, I was just gonna ask real quick, Senator Sin set up that intergovernmental
You need
alliance.
to give it the microphone.
The speaker guy.
Senator Sin set up that intergovernmental alliance, is that still functioning? Because I know she's been redistricting, this might be a good opportunity for the Smalls with East Oak Forest to connect with that structure that Senator Sin set up, because I know that's how the pressure got on Osaka with her and Representative Scott Knox.
Yeah.
If that's still available and functioning. That
The county does still have a intergovernmental stormwater liaison.
That might be a
Yes,
good thing for
yes.
this law to coordinate in with that too, to add more pressure at the state level.
Yeah. Thanks, Don. Any other comments, questions?
You might be interested to know that Donna and Diana and I will work together on a lot of things of historical nature in West Ashley. And we recently came across the late 18th and early 19th century plats that show the area that we're talking about right now. And that is the headwaters of Calvin Creek, and they used to dam that, and that neighborhood was a rice field.
I was about to say, no, when we think of creeks being filled in, we tend to think of, there are a number of areas West Ashley where creeks were filled in and houses built. Just, going back in the late 50s and 60s. And right now, Mother Nature is coming back to reclaim it.
Any other public comment at this point?
Well,
Okay, go on.
Hi, I'm Devin Andrews from the Charleston Parks Conservancy. Just wanted to plug a cleanup we're doing on the Greenway in about a week and a half. It's on Sunday, November 20th, in partnership with Keep Charleston Beautiful. We'll be asking folks to park at Oakland Elementary, which you all know is close to 526. And to focus on that part of the Greenway, because there's less trash cans down there. So there's extra need for many hands to clean up. So you can, if you're interested, volunteer to join us via our website or the link on our social media, which I'm sure you all follow to hear all the cool things that the Parks and Services do.
So in addition, on the 20th, there's also the final farmers market of the year for West Ashley. That's going to be at Ackerman Park. And I think the hours overlap, unfortunately, but you can always, I believe there's an extra hour and a half after the cleanup where you can go over to the farmers market. So along with that, we did have, you all received a email that was submitted from Jeff Garrison, principal of SJC Ventures, regarding some concerns on the redevelopment of the West Ashley Whole Foods location and stormwater. With that, I also forwarded that along to the director of stormwater, and he has been in touch with the mayor and since receiving this letter, and he's welcome to come to the commission and explain the stormwater manual, the process, and hear any feedback that we would have on it. So that's kind of that update on there. Teresa, and the speaker's desk, you're just gonna have to talk loud.
Okay, on Saturday, November 19th, we have the West Ashley Christmas tree lighting at Soto Mall. And we are gonna have the flyers from the West Ashley High School, both middle schools, there's two campuses, as well as singers from the elementary schools, all joining starting at 4, with the lighting at the tree at probably around 6 or nightfall by our elected officials. So we love everybody to come out. Say it all.
To go back to the email, I believe we have a representative for the broker.
Yes.
Yes. All right.
Hi, my name is John Orr at 5 Rebellion Road in Charleston, West Ashley. My company, Carolina Retail Expert, we lease the Whole Foods redevelopment. And as kind of a follow-up to that, and I hear everyone talking about make West Ashley better, want to attract more businesses, better businesses, newer businesses. And kind of a follow-up, I mean, nobody likes the vacant doctor store. The challenge that the developer SAC has on the redevelopment project is with regard specifically to stormwater is that the rules are vague at very best, I think, and there's a difference of opinion between the city and the developer, which is not uncommon, of course, but there's really no arbiter. There's no, board or review person to plead your case to, short of, like the council mentioned, well, just do what we want to do and then sue them. So I think that is, as a resident of West Ashley and business owner, I think that's one of the worst possible solutions to create a reputation where, well, we can't get it done. We're just going to have to hire a law firm to sue to try to get it done. And these costs of these redevelopment projects, there's no way to dispute them. So on one hand, you have a brand new shopping center with a whole slew of all the restaurants and best-in-class retailers that we all want to see in West Ashley, better than Mount Pleasant. But the flip side of that is when your budget goes from 6% stormwater management, 38% stormwater management, it becomes incredibly cost prohibitive. So, as we go about making West Ashley a better place and we try to attract these businesses, I know it's not up to the commission here to, impose its rule on stormwater or processes for permitting and such. But I would implore you to keep that in mind when you go to try to track businesses, because if it's a small business, and I've represented many of them over the years, they simply can't afford the time and effort to go through a 19-month permitting process to be told again and again and again, well, go back and do more. Well, 0.01% water in the pipe's not good enough. It has to be 0.0. So, let's think about this going forward. And, I'm certainly happy to help out in any way. I appreciate you listening.
So, and I have been, help liaison for the, developer going through the development process, both with the design review board and then sitting in on these, stormwater meetings that we've, the city has also been working with the engineering company, very closely, to try and get this project, through the technical review committee in these, final few weeks. We do want to see this project come through. They are going to be on the technical review meeting for the 17th of November. And fingers crossed, we've gotten them their comments, I believe, right now, or they'll be receiving them by early next week and be able to address them ahead of time and resubmit in a quick manner. But it sounds like it would be between stormwater update with city projects and then also having some business feedback regarding the manual for Matt Fountain. I think it is very prudent to have a meeting with him being the main attraction.
That's a question. And going through the city process, what phase, and I know the answer, but what phase has been the most difficult? So from
A path to resolution. And when I say a path to resolution, the city has said, well, we need you to go restudy this. And we restudy it. And the cost increases. We need you to spend, because I know the rules changed in 2020, and that was after Whole Foods was built, and Dachshund still had their current lease in place, so they chose to stay until the end of their term, which was earlier this year. But this particular property, according to the city's map, wasn't subject to that special designated area. And I mean, either the maps are wrong or somebody, just decided summarily that, like you said, at the middle management level, we're just going to make this decision and nobody can question me. So they're going to, the developer's going to have to live with it, or they're going to have to step away, and I don't really care. I keep my job. And the problem is there's no guideline or defined path to a resolution, because stormwater goes to, it's $300,000. It's $500,000. Today, it's over $1 million in underground stormwater because the whole site's impervious now. So, and then, and like I said, I believe that hopefully on the 17th, we have actually some actionable comments that would say, okay, this is the end game. If you do this, you get your permit. But after 19 months and, and it's five or six times where it's like, if you do this, you get your permit. Oh, just kidding. You have to do this. And well, we want you to go restudy that. And there's really no one until you have a law firm write a letter to the mayor and say, hey, who do we address the lawsuit to? It really, that's the trouble, is there's no path to say, if we do this, then we get our permit. This is in compliance. I think the vagary of the rules, I guess I would say.
And your point about a neutral arbitrator are things that we've been discussing, because it's not just on this type of issue. Sometimes people are denied on their bids or doing city work, and there's not a middle ground type of resolution available to. So your point is well taken as far as how do we move the project forward when there's an impasse? What you're saying.
Agree.
And sometimes the only solution to that is, you don't do it, we'll go ahead and sue the city, which then delays the project, the costs go up, Nobody wins without, he's saying, well, give me a finish black eye. Yeah, give me this one, give me a finish line, give me a finish line. And sometimes the finish line may just be that we hire
A neutral third party arbiter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
to get to the resolution, so you can move forward.
And you mentioned the car wash, that between the Ashland River Baptist Church and that drainage pipe, and I know they're working on, we've got a letter about that, they're working on widening the drainage ditch there. But I mean, that went through 9 DRB meetings. And number 8, they said, well, I think I like it now, but I want you to make the parking lot pervious. What do you mean? Well, you just make it more dirt and gravel. And the president of AAA Car Wash came down and said, well, but if these people are paying to wash their car, the last thing they want to do is drive out of here through a muddy driveway. I mean, that's ridiculous. And so, but that just kind of, like you said, I think it's a great idea is to have some third party impartial,
You've been quiet, so then.
Look, I think the fact that the topic has come up is a good and a bad. I think we've spent many years, we've spent a lot of focus on talking about economic development. Basically, we've been inviting folks over for dinner. And they've come over, but we haven't set the table. And they're knocking on the door. We're not answering the door. Quite honestly, I think if we're going to share a message of economic development, come to West Ashley, it's got to be open arms, and we got to be ready to process things. Because I'll give Mount Pleasant credit. They say, here's a stiff arm, don't come here. You come here, we're gonna make it difficult. Understood. Somerville, North Charleston says, come here, we're gonna make it easy. You come there, it's easy. We're saying, come here, it's easy. We don't even get a stiff arm. I will tell you that permitting stormwater just does not write that. They don't give the courtesy of a response. It is a problem. It is, I'm gonna be honest, it's a nightmare. And y'all don't need a neutral party. Y'all need the mayor's office and the city council to step in and get a hold of the one problem child department that slows down economic development. Period. I will tell you that the city, the previous mayor's chief of staff encouraged me to sue the city on a project because they couldn't even encourage their own stormwater people to apply. They encouraged me to seek arbitration. So they got a previous project. There's 13 departments, they opened it up for TRC. 12 replied. 13 said that they've been processing. No response. We reached out, no response. I had an architect embed the file with tracking to see if it can open. Stormwater lied. It was not open. So we then hired an attorney to share that with the city. The city got scared and approved it within 6 hours because the mayor's office had to call stormwater. Stormwater is a problem. The Chamber of Commerce came up with 6 areas to address for economic development in Charleston. Maybe 2 years ago, 5 were high level. Traffic, affordable housing. One of them was literally 2 people's names that run stormwater. That's how bad it is. That's how known it is. Quite honestly, I would encourage the city councilman on this panel to reach out to this developer and shepherd them through. If we're saying, come do business with us, and we're not going to respond, we're going to be arbitrary. Like, I don't know what we're doing. It is truly the problem child of the city.
On projects, I can tell you residential projects downtown now are doing what Councilman Waring said with regard to the city having to do DHEC. They are literally proceeding, factoring into cost of litigation and apologizing later, and not even applying for permits and worrying about storm. I've done it. I've flipped houses with a hobby. I think I'm doing a game. Like, it's fun. This is not my project, but I'm telling you. Commercial developers, I'm hearing it. My doctor could try to pull a permit 5 times. Couldn't pull a permit for a garage in Wagner Terrace. She asked me to help. No one emailed back. When she went down, no one was there. My doctor had to take off a day of patience to go beg permitting the courtesy of pulling a permit for something which is approved. Like, and what happens when this occurs is people just start doing shoddy work, and then the walls are closed up. And then you got safety problems. So I think it's wonderful that we're attracting business. I think it's wonderful that business is here, but business and capital have options, and word gets out. And then they choose the other options. So, you know, I'm sure a week ago, everyone bought the candy and rushed home for the trick or treaters. You know, imagine if we put up signs, trick or treaters would come over and you open the door and said, no candy. We gotta do that.
Unfortunately, just for that, more times we need to, and I think it's time that we need to just address it now. Thank you.
So we had one final public comment that was submitted through the innovation portal. This is from Dr. Andrew Dufresne. I can't pronounce the last name. I've read the briefs for the Water Commission. I believe one of the most important issues is the lack of sidewalks on Savage Road. I see people walking along the side of the road and it's unsafe. Someone will get seriously injured at some point. It's my hope the commission and traffic and transportation will consider future planning for sidewalks along the roadway. And we saw that we have 2 segments planned right now. So yeah.
All right. Very good. Well, thank you all for coming. Very productive meeting. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, sir. All right.